Hi, okay, so you probably have a camera and you probably have a kit lens. That's why you're watching this bonus video. So I have some good news about the kit lens and I have some okay news about the kit lens. But you need to know this because a lot of the people that were taking the capture course were finding that it was difficult to learn how to shoot in manual mode because of this hang up with their kit lens. Now, you probably are dreaming of photos that have a really beautiful blurry background. That's called bokeh. And being able to take pictures with this camera that you have to get that blurry background, bokeh. Now I want to tell you, you can do that. Your kit lens can do that, so no worries there. I'm here to explain what your kit lens can do for you, how you can make it work better for you, and how it can actually limit you, okay? So hang tight, don't worry. I'm going to try to make this quick so that way you can process it and understand exactly what I'm trying to say. So when you're shooting in manual mode, you are manipulating your ISO, your aperture, and your shutter speed. Aperture is the setting that is going to give you that blurry background, that amazing depth of field. So your kit lens, like I said, it can do that for you, but it can limit you. So your kit lens, kind of going back, is probably an 18 to 55 millimeter lens with a variable aperture, mark that word, variable aperture of 3.5 to 5.6. Now, whenever you purchase a lens, you want to make sure that you are aware of the aperture on it, and that is going to be the F number after the F. So this lens looks like, online, it looks like this, F 3.5-5.6. So that means that it's a variable aperture lens. If you are in the market for purchasing other lenses, make sure that you are aware of that aperture number. If it is a fixed aperture like f 1.8, f 3.5, that's actually better than having a variable aperture lens. So that's what makes this really tricky about your kit lens. So while you're telling your camera that you are shooting in manual mode and you're telling it, hey, I want control of all of these three settings because I know what I'm doing, I want creative control, I want control. Your lens is saying, okay, I hear you, kind of, because as you are zooming in and out on your kit lens, it is going to automatically change the aperture on you. And so as you continue this course, you're going to learn that that's going to be really limiting and really confusing and really frustrating to you whenever you're shooting in manual mode. So your kit lens, when it is zoomed all the way out to 18, all the way out, you see a very wide perspective. You're at 18. You have the maximum potential aperture of 3.5. Now, as you start to zoom in, maybe to 25, 35, 45, all the way to 55, your aperture is getting smaller and smaller and smaller, okay? So that means that you are decreasing that opportunity for that blurry bokeh behind you. Okay, so I'm gonna try to wrap this up quickly. I want you to get a piece of paper out and a pen, and I want you to draw these out for me so that you kind of grasp what I'm saying. So the aperture is the hole in which light comes into your camera, okay? So it comes into your lens. So when you have a bigger aperture hole, that means that a lot of light is coming through, and that means that you have an awesome blurry bokeh behind you. So your kit lens has a maximum aperture of 3.5. Okay, so I want you to draw a circle, an average size circle like this, and I want you to label 3.5, okay? Now, as you zoom in, that circle is getting smaller and smaller and smaller. So go ahead and draw 3.5, draw a slightly smaller circle next to it and label 4.0. Draw a slightly circle next to that and label 4.5. Draw a slightly smaller circle next to that and label 5.6. Now aperture is going to go on and on and on and on into a smaller hole. But you can see where you are decreasing the light coming into the hole and in turn decreasing the amount of depth behind you. The reason why I recommend the 51.8 as the next lens that you get, now take note, that's 50 millimeter f1.8. Fixed aperture, and it's going to give you a much bigger aperture hole to allow more light in and more depth. So likewise, what we just did going this way, I want you to draw another circle immediately under the 3.5 that you just drew. Label that circle 3.5, okay? So that's where your kit lens is starting out at. Now I want you to draw a slightly bigger circle, and I want you to label it 3.2. And I want you to draw a slightly bigger circle and label it 2.8. A slightly bigger circle and label it 2.5. A slightly bigger circle and label it 2.2. A slightly bigger circle and label it 2.0. And lastly, a really big circle apparently, and label it 1.8. So are you tracking with me here? So your kit lens is giving you this opportunity of bokeh, but whenever you start out with a lens like a 50 millimeter 1.8, it's allowing you so much more opportunity, one, for light to come into your camera, so it's going to be easier for you to work with, but two, for depth, because that aperture that keeps going this way with the circle getting bigger and bigger, the hole getting bigger and bigger, but the number getting smaller and smaller, I know it's confusing, that's going to give you that dreamy, blurry background, okay? And it's a very inexpensive lens. For Canon, I feel like it's somewhere around $125. For Nikon, I feel like it's somewhere around $225. I don't know why Nikon's a little more expensive. It's okay. That lens for both brands of cameras is what you want to look into next. It's going to make this process a whole lot easier to understand. But if you only have your kit lens, you want to make sure you're zoomed all the way out to 18 and try not to zoom it, okay? Try not to zoom it while you are taking pictures, so that way you're going to have your max aperture at 3.5. That's going to help you out and make sure that your settings are easier to stay on point with, okay? I believe in you. There should be a PDF, a little freebie in the capture course as well for you to refer back to exactly what I just explained. So you got this. I hope you got the 50 millimeter maybe in your hands, or maybe in that cart on your online Amazon account, or B&H Photo or Adorama. That's where we usually buy from, is B&H or Adorama. And good luck to you. You got this.